Okay, turn 26 in Accidental Ascension. I know, it's not turn 25, it's turn 26. I'm sorry. I did the last turn really close to the end point, and I was the last one to hit end. And when I ended, the thing cycled before I could do my usual ritual of going out and copying the turn. So turn 25 passes into just memory, and we're here in turn 26. Let's talk about what's happened, because luckily for us, not a huge amount happened in turn 25. What happened was we advanced, we took both of these provinces, and moved on from there. One sec. Sorry about that. So we advanced, we took these provinces, and then having taken them, we decided to move on, and we have successfully landed here because we faced no real resistance in taking these two provinces initially. Our mercenary group took Shadowlands. Our beach force took 151. We thought about it, considered it for a moment. We were like, oh, do we need to move up and buffer against Midgard? And we looked at the situation. We're like, nah. Why would you think that? What has happened is Midgard has one large force, one large death stack they're rolling around. Utgard has advanced with two stacks. Each has an army of giants and Huskarls, backed by a communion, or rather this one was backed by a communion. So this was the smaller and weaker of the two armies up here. Had slightly more troops but a smaller communion. About 10 mages in total. There's more down here, I believe. And of course, a lot more in reserve. But anyway, 10 mages up here. Utgard predicting a less aggressive move, I think, from Midgard. Advanced their troops separate from their communion, and as a result, their communion was caught up. Hit the Vanir, who just ran over them. So communions are good, but if they're not set up properly and they don't have a little bit of chaff at front to catch the Vans as they come forward, because Vans have very high combat speed, they get run over. So there were some losses to Midgard, but overall this was a net loss to Utgard. But it does mean we know exactly where the main Midgard army is, and it's in 213. Which is nowhere near us, and not a point of concern for us. So Utgard now has its troops stranded without magic support here, and then it has an army of Huskarls, Spearmen, and Sithkonur here on 181, which they are sieging down. Now Giants will, especially if there are some hurlers in that group, siege it down relatively quickly. There are some hurlers in this group, I believe. So yeah, here's the northern troop group. So it's mostly human Huskarls, but it's also got some Jotuns, Jotun Huskarls, Jotun Spearmen, and these guys have siege strength 4, so they're worth 4 humans. There's a reasonable amount of siege strength in that army. There's a reasonable amount of siege strength here. So they should crack this 250 wall integrity for fortification relatively quickly. There is a group of Einhirs stuck inside the 181 fort, which means Midgard has a couple of options here. And I almost guarantee, if I was them, what I would do while the enemy is separated, I would attempt to destroy him in detail. Things are not going to get better if they don't make a stand here. They've destroyed one communion. What they really need to do is destroy the much more significant communion down here at 181. So they will move out and they'll break siege with their forces here. This is actually a great situation for us for a couple of reasons. The first is that it distracts Midgard's army. The second is that it weakens Utgard because both of the major battles of this war so far look like they're going to be fought by him rather than me. He fought one and lost, but inflicted some losses, and then he's going to fight another one here, I predict. And if he does, and if he wins, like fine, he'll get some land, and I'll continue to have an ally. If he loses, I think that whatever is left of the Vanir, because he won't make the same mistake twice. He won't make this mistake of splitting the troops from the communion twice. He'll learn. One thing I will say for Mr. Root in previous times where I've fought him, and I'm fighting him in another game in parallel to this one, which I'm not recording, where I'm playing Ulm, and he's Theridos, is he learns. You try tricks on him and they work for maybe 2-3 turns and he adapts. But that's the decision cycle in Dominions for you. So he'll probably learn from his mistakes there, script better, put some blocking troops out. And if he does that, I reckon he'll win. Not having seen the exact size of the Midgard army, but I reckon he'll win. And if he does, then great. And if he loses, then we'll be able to kill whatever is left, I imagine. We're moving up reinforcements. We're stockpiling mages in these forts here. You'll notice I'm now already being able to produce Forgiving Fathers here in 131 as well. I'm going to upgrade the fort so I can produce 1 per turn, and that'll be 2 good mages per turn in these areas here. So we'll be able to respond. If he wins, then this war will probably go relatively smoothly from here. And we'll have someone who has been allied with us, who is weaker than us, and thus in a position of probably dependency, and is less likely certainly to jump us without warning. It's always better to have allies who are enough weaker than you that they don't want to attack you, but not so weak that they're useless and they drag you into fights and whatnot. Which is also the reason why I'm very happy that Patala has expanded out and become quite large. Patala is going to be a much more useful ally in this state than they are as they were a few turns ago before they managed to really get their expansion in high gear. They're also building a lot of forts. Good infrastructure there. Random Augury, I think, is the one playing Patala. Anyway, but Utgard's bottled up this army. It really only has two places to go. The Cap, in which case it won't hit us this turn, or he can go free this fort. If I was him, I'd free this fort. The Raven has come in and raided. That's Christine, the Raven in the Underworld. Death 9. Not sure how many hit points now. This is the Utgardish troop line. It's just a giant stack of troops. So if this had been standing in front of the Communion, or at least broken up and intermixed so that the skeletons came out ahead of it, but they were still there to block, then I imagine the other battle would have been entirely different. And the fact that they are still on a hold script convinces me that originally they were there as blockers, but they are happy to murder PD without a problem at all. We moved on and we're like, okay, so we'll take this province with the mercenaries to continue shielding our advance, and our main army came through and cleared the direwolves. This is a chance for us to see what our assembled army looks like. It's a long line of sacreds. I pulled the sacreds back, as you can see, behind the ice armor troops. Unfortunately, with their speed, they still get in front in some cases. We're casting a lot of Falling Frost, and you can see that that deletes a whole bunch of them there. The only place of danger is up here, where the direwolves sort of hit a flank. More Falling Frost deletes the rest of the wolves. The reason it's not targeting the direwolves is because direwolves are cold resistant 15 and thus functionally immune to Falling Frost. The AI knows this, so it sees the squares of ordinary wolves as a much more attractive target and drops it on them. Crossbow bolts coming in. Most of them are hitting, some of them are not, and we clean them up. So I think we lost 2 humans in that fight. Don't care. So that province is worth 38, that province is worth 120. That's the valuable province. We're going to continue our shielding advance sort of scheme. I don't think these troops are going to advance to 195, but I'll send a message anyway. We'll take 195 and lock that in as one of ours. I don't want him to gain that. And then we'll move the main army up, and then we'll collapse on the capital the turn after that. Now, as hard as the fight with the Midgardish army would be, a fight with the capital is probably going to be even harder because of all of these mages. If you look at Midgard, a Volva is an astral mage, which is of course quite dangerous, and they also have some of these Galdermen. So the mixture of air and astral being able to boost up to really, really high astral. There'll be some Vanyars, I imagine. So what we're expecting is air magic and astral. Both of those are quite good in castle defense because they both have early AoE spells that you can sort of plaster the gate with, and both have spells that don't really give a shit about the armor that my troops have. Thunderstrike in the case of Galdermen, and things like Stellar Cascades putting my guys to sleep in the case of the Volva. So we can probably do it, but it'll be a little bit bloody. But you know what? Bloody for a cap in an early war, which we haven't. We've taken 4 provinces for basically nothing so far. We're going to take number 5. This is not a huge war in terms of territory taken because Midgard was not big, but it's relatively low cost and it's quick. And quick is important in Dominions. This is about time, especially since we only got 2 provinces out of this war. Ulm has meanwhile come on to Phenofia, which is province 63, and started cracking it again. And all is more or less proceeding as planned. So you can see here, my visibility says that Bogarus is right up on Erythia at this point. Not sure how much longer that war can last. Ulm is obviously a beneficiary who, like me, didn't pay much cost for it, but I reckon GC will put an end to that war relatively soon. One has to wonder where Ulm will look next. One hopes it's not towards me. I think I'm a bad matchup, so it's very unlikely to be me. If I was them, I would look either at Abyssier or at Bogarus. Probably too narrow a flank to come through Patala. I guess he could also come north down onto the Giants, but I wouldn't like that either. I think Ulm's got a terrible matchup versus Skelly Spam. With this whole mass wolf and crossbows. Like, crossbows are bad weapons against numerous skeletal chaff. In general, wolves are even worse weapons against mass skeletal chaff because in the end he'll out-chaff you if the battle goes long enough. So they'll go that way or that way, so we should keep an eye on that. Other wars. So there's some tyrants out. Those tyrants are, I believe, going to fight Jabolba. We're going to keep an eye on that. Phlegra has been quiet. They haven't said anything in chat, but I think from talking to other players, they are quietly probably the game leader. They have a huge chunk of territory. Like all of this is all Phlegra. They got a piece out of Gath. They expanded really well. They've got most of this water apparently. They've got tyrants out who are hard to counter at this point in the game. And neighbours who don't seem to be allying to beat them up. So we'll see what happens from here. One moment. Sorry, I'm not meant to be on call, but that doesn't stop the phone ringing. So Phlegra is probably quietly huge. They've got efficient researchers, they've got decent scales, and they've got super combatants coming out at turn 26. So the Volcano clearly went a little early in this game if they've got multiple ones coming out. It's Cleophon, not the first one they get. So they must have had time to train and build one, which means the thing must have blown up on turn 23 at the absolute latest, because they needed 2 turns to build in Phlegra and 1 turn to move out. So we have to keep an eye on that, but they're not our immediate neighbours. That doesn't necessarily mean we're hostile to them. It just means we need to keep an eye on them. Talk to them, see what's happening, track where the tyrants are at. So for the moment, anything else to say? We cast Dark Knowledge because we thought we had seen death scales in a place. Turns out we were wrong. They might have just been from an event before we took it. We did a whole bunch of site searching and found nothing. Pythium proclaimed a new prophet. There's now a... Skopetz is now the prophet of Bogarus. Doesn't look like he's been renamed, so he's Pafnuti. Our dead prophet's spirit has left the world, so we can name a new one. And then you saw the battle in Summerlands, the battle in Fom, and we saw Utgard's battle. Then events, 465 gold. Oh, yeah, Contract in Blood, so we'll see that in a moment. Completed stuff. The Contract in Blood. Okay, so the Contract in Blood means this guy here, this random-ass human commander, now has a soul contract. The soul contract spawns 1 devil a month. Now, that's not a lot of devils, but we have no way of accessing devils, and a small number of devils who are reasonably strong, attack rear flyers with, high damage piercing attacks. There could be a use for these guys. They could definitely... So if we build up a few and then we're careful, like we steward them and make sure that we don't do anything silly with them, we can make good use out of them. Right now we just have shitloads and shitloads of water gems and sort of bleh everything else, but that's okay. We'll work with it. Not sure if there's anything else to say. We got a hero, but don't be excited. It's the mercenary. Giuseppe is now a hero, and we're barely going to be able to afford to hire Giuseppe again. So I put in a bid to extend the Far Strikers. I'm considering putting in a bid to extend Giuseppe as well, but it's tight on gold. I'll think about whether I cancel it and put in a minimum bid of like 201 or something. I don't think anyone else will pay 402 to steal him from me, knowing he's already under employment. So I might do that. We'll see. Just to have more siege strength. We've only got 274 in this stack, whereas the mercenaries are currently adding an extra 82, which will make a difference if you're sieging a 750 wall integrity citadel. Anyway, that's turn 26. Hopefully I'll be back in turn 27. Alright, welcome back to Accidental Ascension, and it's turn 27. What happened? A few things. There was a... Well, let's go through our event list and then we'll talk about the war. Iron Throne was claimed. We found 2 magic sites in the Forest of Gila. Gila, we found a Painted Cave and a Maze. That's a net 3 Astral Pearl swing, so Astral is now our second highest income area. Considering Astral is relatively universal and we have a good number of Astral Mages, I'm happy with that. Even if it just ends up being turned into Skullcaps or something like that, I am happy with that. Found nothing else. We proclaimed a new prophet, Odbur II, the Claimer of Thrones, who is a forgiving father. Odbur is the national hero of Atlantis, so this is Odbur II. And then there were a series of battles, unexpected events. Huge barbarian horde attacked Durland, so we lost Durland, which is this province here, bloody annoying, but hey, at least we've got a fortress up here. We'll send people to take that at some point. We're just not loving the random attacks. Other than that, but we got 487 spare gold and a death gem. A death gem. Thank you, random event. Very significant. Notice that this event has lied to me. It says a few magic gems. Well, if a few magic gems were found, why on earth did we only get one? Alright, who stole them? Hang them. Punish the sons of bitches that stole my death gems. I really want more. Look, I don't have many. I want more. Why don't we have more? We don't have more because we're forging skull staves, and we made a skull mentor, singular. But we're forging skull staves because we'll need them to access magic relatively soon. We'll talk about that once we can actually use it. Okay. Battles, the war, our war, and then a roundup of everyone else's. So, Utgard pulled back and took this province from Midgard's province defense, which is probably a sound move from Utgard. It does look like they split off some units and took 230. So Midgard is down to 2 provinces unsieged and 1 province besieged. There was then a battle in 181, and I'm really annoyed I did not get a scout there in time. But Utgard did share the report with me, and basically, well, because he wanted to gloat. And the reason he wanted to gloat, I imagine, is to make sure that he knows that I shouldn't then just attack him and take the stuff he took from Midgard after he lost a small communion up here. But I think 10 mages dead, which hurts. This was the destruction of Midgard's force for basically no loss. So they moved in, they killed a bunch of human troops that had been set out to sort of delay the Vans, and that gave the Communion just enough time to come online, spit out legions and legions and legions and legions of skeletons that basically drowned the entire Midgardish army. Eventually it retreated with what it had left and is now hiding in the fortress. So you'll see that the Jotun chaff has retreated or ablated, so they've lost some of their troops. You can see scattered guys here. I think the main retreating group went over here. Some went up here, which is lucky for them because they were just freed. So this group has actually grown in size relative to where it was last turn, but the Midgardish army is bottled. And if they try and break out now, all those troops will come back, and they don't have much left. So this fort is probably going to fall. However, I don't mind, and I'm happy with the fact that this is basically serving as the Alamo. In talking to Utgard, he also warned me off 211. He said he apparently has his Raven of the Underworld up here, so that is what was up there. He mentioned his Raven was up here. His Raven's a Death 9 Skelly Spammer, which is a lot of skeletons. He's going to currently come down to 211 and lock it down, and he warned me not to come up here with my mercenaries. So I made a bit of a song and dance about that, but in the end I'm like, yep, okay, fair. He's like, you're going for the cap. I know you're going for the cap. Leave 211 to me. And I'm like, okay, but I'm going for the cap. So we're going for the cap. We've got a force set up where basically what we've done is we've got the poor human mercenaries in the front to ablate the enemy. Well, they will ablate, and in so doing catch the worst the enemy can do. We've got archers on fire cavalry. The archers on fire cavalry because I want them to shoot at the Vanir and the mages. Because glamour isn't because Vanir don't have huge protection values, and glamour is not a great protection against longbow shots. So they might do something. They might pop some glamour. Behind the humans comes a line of ice guards and some humans, so a mixed infantry force. Another group of longbows, this time on fire closest, because I wanted some fire coming down where it's high precision on the front line. Considering my troops, if you look at these guys, 22 prot, and they have an ice aegis, protection value 18. They're going to parry a lot of arrows as well, so, like, yeah, danger close. And then behind that, my Sacred line. So the Sacreds are very high damage, but vulnerable to being cut down. So they're basically serving as the Triarii of this. And then just in case there's some flying thugs, there's some people on hold and attack cavalry in the rear. That's just for a flying thugs come in, I want them to land on those guys and then get beat up by everyone else's magic. So far as magic goes, we've got Giuseppe is Phoenix powering and then throwing fireballs. Not a traditional Atlantean focus, but hey, it's something. We've got 2 Falling Frost casters, Tiquana and Chulin. But both are on conservative gem usage, so they shouldn't use their gem stock. Tikani's going to fire off 1 Shadow Blast and then go to spells. I think I might adjust that so it's Falling Frost afterwards. 1 Shadow Blast just to tell them we mean business and to say hi. No worries See you, have a good day. We've got another Ungorcock coming in with reinforcements, and most notably some water lenses and skull staves, and a bunch of death gems. So what's going to happen is he's going to arrive, he's going to hand off the water lenses to 2 of the other Ungorcock, the Falling Frost casters, to make them even more effective at their jobs, and also mean they can open with water elementals when the enemy is out of range. Because the enemy won't be in range of Falling Frost, usually cast 1, so they'll usually just cast some useless buff instead. The temporary water gem and the fact these guys are level 4 means they can put out 1 water elemental for free and only go up to 50 fatigue, and they can start throwing Falling Frost for negligible fatigue at decent range and decent damage as the enemy closes. So that's what we're going to do. He's got the Skull Stave. He is an air random, so you know what that means. There'll be some scary winds blowing in Midgard's capital. But mostly I'm just ferrying in as many infantry as I can because I know I'll take attrition and I need to break the fort as quickly as possible because the longer I'm sitting there, the more I am sitting there being vulnerable and useless on every other front. On our far eastern front, we took the throne. As usual, we took basically no losses. It was a phantasmal and horse tribe throne. We do really well against those, so we just... let me show you my tactical genius. We formed up in a block because we didn't have the leadership to form line. And then we walked towards the enemy, and then we stabbed the enemy and slashed the enemy with sharp objects and halberds, cut our way through them, and that was how we won. We just walked up and we shanked them. Sometimes that is all you need to do. So we've claimed that throne. That throne is the brass throne. 1 fire, 1 earth. We currently have 3 fire and 0 earth, so I will take it. There's also a fire water on this site, so a lot of our fire income will come from this province. Half of it will come from this province. Despite it being 21 income, I'm more than happy with that. Also, it brings 50 gold per turn once claimed and spreads 1 dominion. So this province will actually worth 71 gold, not nothing, once that throne is claimed, which I will do ASAP. Our economy is going relatively well. This is a good income figure. We're probably beaten by Phlegra, although Phlegra's capital only if Phlegra's capital has been patrolled down to produce revenue again, because obviously when it blows up, there's a whole bunch of unrest, which lowers the gold income for a period of time. We're massing up mages. We're mostly focused on recruiting. You can't recruit many infantry, and because you can't recruit many infantry, you recruit them everywhere you can, as many as you can, all the time, because they will always be a good deal, they'll always be valuable, and we're producing them out of 1, 2, 3, 4 forts right now, not producing any troops in the water forts. Those are just for Forgiving Fathers. That fortress down there is upgrading too, and then I'll start a Forgiving Father once it has 2 CP, and I have a little more gold. So the goal is to be putting out, as of next turn, 3 Forgiving Fathers a turn, 2 Lizard Shamans a turn, and then 3/4 of an Ungorcock per turn. If I can do that, then that's pretty good mage production. Where I can, I'll produce mages up here as well, like these little Tungaliks, but right now I'm actually producing these high-grade commanders to give myself a little bit of a morale boost and take over leadership duties from the Ungorcock. One of these will probably arrive in time for the assault. I'm not sure about the second one, but I'd rather transfer to high morale leaders while I have them. In other news, Ulm still sieging. Bogarus. Bogarus, as far as I can see, is at the gates of Erythia now. They may even have it under siege. I'll try and get that confirmed, but this doesn't look like Erythia is going to triumph. It hasn't looked like Erythia would triumph for a very, very long time. It didn't look like it at the start, but it looks like General Confusion is now in a race to complete his war at the same time we do, which, considering he's in mostly solo, Ulm isn't doing anything, which is kind of smart of Ulm. Going to complete his war solo before I can complete my coalition war up here. But most importantly, before Gath can be taken down here by the coalition of everybody. Amazingly, where is Gath? Gath's there. Gath stands untaken and apparently unsieged. So apparently Abyssia has tried assassins, which got patrolled out. Ulm is focusing on this fort here and holding this. Phlegra hasn't has a big army in situ apparently, but hasn't moved it onto the capital. So Gath's holding on. So if we can get our game plan really rolling and we can break these walls, we may be the first people to take another capital. which is not bad. I know Accidental Ascension games go slower, so I'm not kicking myself as much as I would in, say, the Nazca game. In the Nazca game, I think that I had already taken a capital by turn 24. We're going to be aiming to take a capital around turn 31, I'd say we'd take a capital. And then we'd be staging for another war by about turn 38, depending on where that war is. But we'll see how it goes. That's the rough tempo I'm working at for Atlantis here. It's not anywhere near as fast as Hellblessed Nazca, but it's something. We've got a nice empire. We'll clean up the home front. We'll watch what happens on our borders. Manage our economy. Continue site searching as best we can. We're putting a lot of effort into site searching. You saw last turn we had a lot more searches. Those are all moving. So hopefully they'll be searching this turn. So, we're searching 129. You get a lot of paths to search with too, so we should get some good gem results. We'll see. We've got my Thistle Mace searchers have dispersed, and they're going to try and find me some nature gems. 2 per month, not enough. As we get more, we'll make more Thistle Maces and get more Thistle Mace searchers out. He's going to come up here and I believe build a lab. While this guy moves off, and then we'll train Tungalix. I had to build a temple here, so we're building one now because you can't recruit Tungalix without one because they are a sacred mage. We don't want too many of them because they're useless for anything other than researching, but they're okay researchers. And building a temple doesn't hurt because we have very few so far. We only have 3 temples, which is a bit of a waste of our 10 Dominion strength, right? We kind of want to get our temples up and doing temple checks and pushing back Dominion and reinforcing our own, getting those candles right up there so that it's very hard to shove us out. Dominion just gives lots and lots of benefits. Not to mention, mostly in the form of unrest reduction, more positive events for me, greater research for my researchers. It guarantees that things will be cold. So in particular... Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning. We don't want Abyssea's Dominion to come in on us, and our Dominion here is relatively weak because that would quickly turn us to heat, which we really don't want. If our forts melt, then we're in trouble. You'll see, even now, 24 administration, because it's made of ice and the cold level is only 1. If this goes to heat, then these basically become useless, so you need to keep your Dominion up in Atlantis, and hopefully people will only siege you during winter if they're kind. Maybe they like attrition. We're forting 1, 5, and 9. That will be done in a turn. I don't have the budget to fund Fort 72 just yet, but so we'll get to that when we can. We're also claiming the throne down on the Ormish border because it is useful. Being able to get additional gems and recruit new mages and spread Dominion. There's lots of good things that come from claiming a throne as long as it won't get people antsy. And with my very low point count, it shouldn't get people antsy. Ulm and Gath have a heap of Dominion around here, but I'm mostly concerned about Gath's Dominion because it has death scales. So we're going to push that back. I think right now there's Abyssea in here, which is heat, which is just as icky for us. Terrible. This is a huge income swing. 2 heat for a cold preference nation. Yeah, no, that's the maximum possible debuff from temperature. So we'll ditch that and go with C20 minus 20% income minus 40% supplies. That can go die in a hole. Let's get some cold on there, because in cold, it's only minus 5% for 1 cold, and I don't think I have anywhere that's still 2 cold, do I? Here it is. Yeah, 2 cold is the ideal. So let's kick that out. Let's kick that shit out. Let's get some temples, let's get some throne claimed, and go from there. So that's turn 27. See you all in turn 28. Okay, Accidental Ascension turn 28, and we are on Midgard's capital. They didn't choose to come out and fight us. I would have been very surprised if they did. The only reason they would have is if they PD dumped. As it was, we fought a little bit of PD, 73 units, not a huge amount. Now, their capital, for whatever reason, is, I believe, in a cave, which is just mean to them, that is. And makes me wish, if I'd noticed, I might not have put the pikes in the front line, but maybe I still would have. Because in the dark, there's this -3 cave darkness penalty for all humans. But for Atlanteans, it's only a -1. So the stat difference in caves for us is hugely in our favour. Anyway, they charge, the crossbows rain down, Falling Frost deletes entire squares, because these are the ordinary human stuff. There we are, see more of damaged, frozen. A lot of these guys have fewer hit points, so if they get hit again, they'll die. And the ones that survive, just come in drips and drabs, and because they're coming in drips and drabs, they won't have the same attack density. So already the morale is breaking on some of them. Our troops make contact, the crossbows rain down, more evocations. So this is the stage of the game before bigger battlefield magic is available that, let's check on fatigue. 63 fatigue from constant casting, not bad. That nukage is actually an option. So DPSing people with evocations, perfectly fine. So we basically ran them off almost before contact. We lost 6 pikemen, we killed 73 units of the PD, and we've now placed it under siege. Reinforcements are coming up, including those gems, staves, and lenses. We've also got a few, because we needed more troops, if anything, we brought a few underwater recruit troops as well to help out and bring down the walls. Alright, that being said, so we've celebrated that. Let's go back and do events and then talk about the war. So we've got 20 gems from Utgard. The reason we did that is because I sent him some of I had some skull mentors floating around. So I sent him one this turn, I'll send him another one soon. Why would I do that? So one, it's to win him over. Two, it makes him dependent on me because he's so right now, having lost some mages, he knows that his research core is a little bit weakened. He hasn't lost any here, but he'll be trying to make that up for deploying those communions this early in the game. So he's buying research items we're happy to supply. The second is we're going to source a hammer, and we're going to make replacements for them using the hammer. We'll be in the same place we were otherwise, and I don't desperately need the research items. I'm producing enough mages, so I'll liquidate them back into death gems and make more at a discount, and we'll turn a small profit off it. Anyway, Conjuration is done to level 4. We're going to go to level 5 next. That'll let us voice of Tiamat our 3 water provinces. Claim the Silver Throne. We found an enchanted tower, 1 earth gem. I'll take it, and that's it. Found 7 blood slaves. Okay, so we're starting the blood hunt down here. We'll get some other commanders to start shuttling around. We got our first sanguine dowsing rods because we have the construction for them using our little guys over here. He's going to go back, hand in his blood slaves, and use them to make another sanguine dowsing rod. His boss is over here, blood hunting, B2 blood hunting. Doesn't have a rod, but we'll get someone to take him one at some point. I just want to get a little blood slave income up. We're surrounded by mega blood slaves, like Abyssia, biggest blood slave, and Jabolba. We now bought a Jabolba. So blood power is like 1, 2, and 3 maybe, or 1, 2, 3 in descending order of the age. Bolgarus is a light blood power. Patala wishes it was a blood power, but doesn't have an easy way to get it. Anyway. So we got some blood slaves. And then there was the battle in Midgard, which we saw. There was a battle in... let's just have a look at the god. So the god came in exactly where he said he would come and put this castle under siege. And he did it through the expedient of... He casts... So there we are. He's cast Skeletal Body and 2 Horde of Skeletons, and he is at 13 fatigue. More hordes of skeletons, more hordes of skeletons, more hordes of skeletons. And look, some of them are these... Soulless Warrior Giants. 45 hit points. Is he now doing Raised Dead? Yeah, he's doing Raised Dead. So they may not get... Horde of Skeletons may only produce these Long Dead, who have better equipment, more damage and attacks. But if you want sacks of HP and limited stats, the Unique Giant Soulless are not bad. Because 45 is a lot of HP to chew through. They have 9 protection. They have terrible stats. You always hit them. But if they hit you, they do 32 damage. So... yeah, Raised Dead, not bad. So yeah, constant string of the dead, ran them off the province. Now the Raven of the Underworld has a siege strength of 10, so it's not going to get anywhere, but Anyway, Forest Event. So, Damn Merchant is a 1 blood slave per turn. 1 blood slave is not the same as 1 gem. Blood slaves are not worth the same as gems because you can grind out so many of them, and the spells that use them are so expensive for the most part. But hey, 1 blood income. Another 420 gold, and minus tax. So 1 pays for the other. 1 more than pays for the other, to be honest. Killed an Ormish scout. Always good to know who's scouting, and this Ormish scout is a long way from home. What you doing, Wolf Dad? Why are you scouting me up here? Go pay attention to your own affairs. I mean, you're a good mate, but pay attention to your own affairs. Okay, Hungry Sea is completed to fortress status. Sea of Mermaids is completed to fortress status. And what was the third one? Palisades Palisades on this throne here. Good. So our fort count is now up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. and Midgard itself will be our 9th. I think that keeps us like on par, because Patala's on this. Look at it, castle, 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 and I believe castle's over here too. So like, whoa, man, like slow down on the construction. The monkeys are an industrious people. The monkeys are a very industrious people, and I would like to be able to keep up with them. We haven't got the money to upgrade or turn this into anything useful yet, so we're just searching it. Eventually we'll upgrade it, but right now I have no ability to do anything with this palisade except for recruit a bare minimum of troops, and I can't even do that this turn because I am broke. And then we started to destroy the fort walls in Midgard. So what are we doing this turn? We're collapsing and killing these barbarians through the expedient of throwing infantry at them. Then we'll see whether or not we need to transport those infantry over as reinforcements. It may be that they would get there too late to do any good and they stay at home instead. We have a good army here. How many units have we got? 339 siege strength, 292 units, I believe, and we're bringing in reinforcements, so we will have even more. How many more units are we bringing in? 70 extra reinforcements. So we'll have a good, solid, massive infantry. This is most of our infantry corps, so make no mistake, this is a big commitment to breaking this fort, but you want to bring siege strength to bear as soon as possible. We're now tracking what's happening between Phlegra and Jabalba. What you can see here is a Necromancer event. Necromancer event's a very bad random event where a Death Mage and a whole bunch of like wights and things rises up, and unless you squish them, they progressively, 1, drain the life out of your province until it's dead, and 2, take over adjacent provinces. So I believe that this province is dead. This Throne province probably has a population of 0 now. We're sending in a scout to look at how big the undead force is, and then we'll see if it's taken any of the surrounding ones. If Phlegra can spare a tyrant, that'll probably be the end of it, unless there's a whole bunch of skelly spamming available there, because enough skelly spam can turn timer a tyrant and force it to retreat. But if the skelly spammers aren't themselves fearless, what can happen is they can then run off the field. The tyrant will have been berserked and so still be there, and then everything around it will disintegrate. So it can even beat the turn timering effect of skelly spam. Tyrants are really good. This throne is under siege by barbarians, which is a fun thing because Utgard and Jabalba can join the fan club. They have both had this problem. Here was just the scouts, that wasn't a random attack. It's worth giving some thought to medium-term goals here, but I'm currently overawed with the short-term objective of taking this fort. Once I take Midgard, I can sort of decide where I'm going to go next. I don't think I have any intention of going into Jabalba. Jabalba's and Phlegra are fighting. There's no reason to involve myself in Jabalba, especially since Jabalba is like heat, and my empire is distended enough as it is, having reached out towards Midgard. I'll talk to my allies, see where they're going, and we'll pick a medium-term option. Luckily, everything is clumped enough that like the maximum redeployment time is like 5 turns to get to anywhere. So we can reposition against anyone in 5 turns. Naps take 4 turns realistically to cancel if they're by in-game message, so there's not much time lost. There's no impetus to make a decision now. All I know is I don't want it to be Utgard, because I don't want to fight Skelly Spam. Skelly Spam is a good match for what I have. My infantry will eventually tire out, and Falling Frost is not great against like cold-resistant undead. And I can't fight Patala because of our agreements. So we've got a good agreement with Patala. We can't fight them. And we probably can't fight Wolfdad either without... So we have just an ordinary nap with them. There's no special terms to that agreement, but Wolfdad's been pretty upfront with us. So we could fight Wolfdad, but I don't think I will. I'm not... That would make me feel really uneasy. So look, we'll come back and we'll assess our medium-term situation once we've taken Midgard. The point is, right now we don't have to make a decision, and more importantly, not making a decision isn't costing us anything. We don't need to be doing specific research. No, none of our potential neighbours demand specific research that we need done now. They don't demand any difference in terms of force mix. Everyone would still demand we pump out Ice Guards, cap-only mages, and then some of these central, like water recruit mages and some nature shamans. So we need the same force for everyone, the same economy for everyone, and the same research for everyone. So there's no need to make a decision. So I will refrain from making a decision until I have additional information. I'll put out my feelers and see. We're definitely in the race. Bolgarus is besieging Erythia. It looks like they're bringing in more infantry, probably to serve as siege chaff. So who knows? I don't know if we'll take Midgard before Bolgarus takes Erythia. Place your bets here. One thing that we are doing, though. I'm sorry, GC. Okay, so we're sending 51 water gems to Erythia. Erythia posted on Discord saying, yo, anyone selling water gems? I had shit tons of water. I'm sending 51 water gems away, and I still have 100. Like, I have so many bloody water gems that I don't know what to do with them. Literally, I don't know what to do with them. So, I'm selling 51 of them. And for that, I will get a mixture of all the other elemental gem types. I'm going to get a mixture of air, fire, and earth. Which is great, because I have crappy incomes on all of them, and a little bit of path access to all of them, and I can do something with all of them. So, I'm happy to diversify. It's like cheap alchemy. We're not giving them mates rates, so it's not really providing support. Look, if I was GC, I wouldn't be thrilled that I'm doing this, but I'd also regard it as a fair play. We don't have an agreement this game that prevents skullduggery, and even then, this isn't skullduggery. It's a straight trade with the belligerent on even commercial terms. So I don't see this being a problem. What those water gems will probably do is they'll either get turned into summons, so yetis, or they'll get turned into water elementals to greet the storming parties at the gates of Erythia. So we will see. If we'd known earlier, we could have sent them earlier, and then there'd probably be a lot more chaff holding up the walls. But alas, speaking of holding up the walls, still haven't stormed over here, so they're working on it. And still, apparently, no one is standing on Gath. Apparently, it's still... Abyssio's got big clumps of infantry, but they're not where they need to be, and Phlegra is apparently, is going to have to pull people back to fight Jabolba, so really, Gath is hanging in there. I'm talking to Gath. Yeah, and Gath is standing defiant, and we have great respect for that stand. So we'll keep talking to them. I do feel bad about this one though. This one was my bad. That should already be the Wolf Dad's. And like the benefit of locking down his army here, let's just say I was trying to be cynical about it for a moment, there's actually not that much benefit because the province isn't worth a huge amount. He'd have to lab it and temple it before he produced anything of note there anyway, and if his army wasn't there, his army would probably just be patrolling. I don't think he's ready to go for Gath itself yet, so there's no actual benefit. It just made me look dumb. Because I was dumb. It was a stupid mistake, and I will not make it again. Touch wood. So, here's where we're at. The economy is in good shape. Production is running along well. We're in summer, unfortunately, so it's a little bit warmer than I would like for the purpose of the assault. Hopefully summer will pass by the time that we break the walls and go in. The walls are moderately damaged and require more time to break down, so we're making progress, but not enough. Come turn 29, we'll probably get an idea as to whether it breaks in 1 or 2. But certainly by that point, our extra reinforcing mage will have arrived. He will have handed off his water lenses, which will add a little bit more magical firepower to this force. And he will add his Wailing Winds ability, which we should finish relatively soon. So, that's turn 28. See you soon, and hopefully in the next episode, because I think I'll cut an episode at turn 28. In the episode beginning turn 29, hopefully we storm Midgard.